That's what it feels like it needs to get to.
Needs to get to some. You have to honor that, man.
Yeah, you can't collect a check and then the very next year go back in the portal and then go collect another check. It defies, what this country's supposed to be about. I always thought players should be paid because you couldn't work in the off season, or you could work in the summers. You couldn't work during the school year back when I was playing, and I didn't come from a wealthy family at all. But there were a lot of teammates of mine who came from less money than even I did, and they were really struggling. And I thought, man, these guys should be getting paid something. And the NCAA, I think, just really dropped the ball. I mean, if they'd gotten out ahead of this and said, okay, here's what we're going to do, and they didn't do it, and now it's the Wild West out there, So
it is insane, man.
And what you don't hear about anymore is the quality of the education.
Yeah, that's.
I haven't heard that. I haven't heard education come by about college football since NIL came about. It's all of a sudden.
It's not even discussed. Graduation rates, none of it.
I never heard a kid ask, "Hey, how are my credits going to transfer if I switch schools here?" haven't heard that one yet.
No.
But let's play a hypothetical, because this is all funny games. If you were a college quarterback and you had one more year of eligibility, but you knew you were a top 5 lottery pick
at a great university,
but the NFL is waiting on you, and everybody knows you're going to be a top pick, would you stay an extra year or play for the worst or get drafted by the worst team in the league?
Well, it says Jets, Travis.
I'm not going to do the Jets thing. we got an employee that works with us at New Heights that's a huge Jets fan, and the question was, would you get drafted by the Jets? But I'm just going to say, would you question whether or not to stay the extra year or get drafted by arguably like a rough situation?
That's a hard one, because typically, for instance, when I came out in '89, I was first overall pick, and the Cowboys, of course, were the worst team, and they were the worst team in football, and we were the worst team in football even after my rookie year. We regressed. We went from 3 wins before I came to Dallas to 1 win when I joined, and so that didn't look like a great situation, but yet it became an amazing place to play, and so I think you got to be really guarded about saying, well, historically, this franchise hasn't done it. And so do I really want to go to that place, or should I stay in college another year and maybe, reshuffle the deck and I get a chance to go play somewhere else? There's a lot of, you take Peyton Manning going to Indianapolis, what he was able to do, they all look good. Joe Burrow going to Cincinnati. I mean, all these programs start looking better, when you start getting the right people in place. So that's a hard one. I think it's so important for these quarterbacks to play. Just play in college, play as many games. I mean, the chances of them then going on and having success in the NFL go up dramatically. I mean, you look at a guy like Bo Nix and what he was able to do, and it's so rare. A lot of these quarterbacks have only had 13, 14 starts in college, and that's a big jump than going to the NFL and expecting to play well.
Is there anybody out there that's struggling in the league right now that you would say might be the next Sam Darnold?
Not offhand. When going back to that draft, Sam was my number one guy. I mean, when I evaluated him, I thought the one question mark with Sam in college was the turnovers. He turned the ball over a lot in college, fumbles and interceptions, and he still has had some of that in the NFL. But early on, it looked like, well, maybe it's just not going to work out for him. But like we said, he goes to San Francisco, backs up, then he goes to Minnesota. And then what he's done this year in Seattle has been awesome. We've seen that from Baker Mayfield. Josh Allen was a bit of a project coming out of college. People thought it would take him longer than it did, and he's the one who had the most success right away. So I've talked to so many people who evaluate quarterbacks for a living, and I've said, hey, when you walked in and met with Aaron Rodgers coming out of college, or Joe Burrow, or whoever, did you know they had it? And it's about 50-50, I mean, it's a coin flip as to whether or not what you think is what they're going to become. And that's why there's so many people that have been wrong. It's not an exact science in getting these guys right.
Well, quarterback is even the hardest one to judge, I feel like, because like you've been saying, there's so many intangibles that determine whether that guy pans out.
That's right.
We got a great one coming out this year.
He took college football by storm this year with both his play and his personality, man. He's a bit of a unique individual, and Fernando Mendoza over there at Indiana, obviously national champion. Everyone's saying he's going to be the number one pick. What's your read on him if you've been able to catch him playing football?
I haven't studied him. I've seen him play a little bit. You know, my college football viewing is really more or less the game's on, and I'm studying, preparing for our broadcast or whatever, and so it's more background noise. So I don't really study him too hard. A big fan of what he's been able to do. A big fan of that university, for that matter, and what Curt Cignetti accomplished. I mean, it's just remarkable. I mean, it's just me away. Speaking of him, not to avoid your question, but they played UCLA a year ago, week 3. I'm home on a Saturday. They're UCLA, Indiana at the Rose Bowl. And they start talking about Curt Cignetti, and I'd never heard of him before. And they say he came from James Madison. They go through his whole thing. They played the soundbite of, you know, all I do is win, Google me. And so I got so locked in, like that's when television worked, you know, like it hooked me, and I was locked in on this game. And it wasn't because of UCLA. It was because, man, I want to know more about this Curt Cignetti.
This old ball coach, man.
And I'm watching his team play, and you could tell they were just so well coached. You know, they'd catch the football, they're 3 yards short of the first down, but the guy immediately catches it, knifes up the field, picks up the first down. I'm like, man, these guys, they've been well coached. So I've been following them ever since. And so I'm a huge fan of what he's done. Now, Mendoza, I will say, I was just having this conversation with someone else, that every year there is a best quarterback in the draft, right? There's always a best quarterback, but it doesn't mean that every year there's a franchise quarterback in the draft. And I think that that's what, and I'm not suggesting that Mendoza's not a franchise quarterback at all. I'm just saying that, you know, that's what has to be evaluated. Is he the first overall pick? Should he maybe not be the first overall pick? It's just that, as we've talked about, the league is so starved for quarterbacks, and if you're one of those teams that needs one, man, they all look like franchise quarterbacs. You know,
you talk yourself into it real quick.
That's right. So I like him. I like his accuracy. I like, man, tough. He's played in big games. He's shown it on big stage. I think there's a lot to be said for that. And now it's a matter of, can he get to the right place? Is Vegas that place where he can really excel? It's easy to say, yeah, because Tom Brady's an owner and he's got a vested interest and he's going to be right there, but he's not going to be right there, you know, and there's a lot that is happening within that organization. So, but I like the young man, and I'll be pulling for him. I pull for all these guys to play well. I'll be pulling for him when he gets his chance.
That's awesome. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you to our partner, Liquid IV. When it comes to travel, I love a good road trip or discovering the best food spot in the city. Yep, that's right. You're driving through some random town, see a line out the door at any tiny place, and you just know you got to try it. You know it's going to be good. Next thing you know, you're telling everybody about the best tacos you've ever had. And those unplanned detours, well, that's what it's all about. And Liquid IV is the best road trip travel partner to stay hydrated throughout those trips. Just one stick in 16 ounces of water hydrates faster than water alone, with an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that Liquid IV dubs Hydroscience. It turns ordinary water into extraordinary hydration and comes in delicious flavors like lemon lime, popsicle firecracker, and white peach. Stay hydrated for every adventure with on-the-go hydration from Liquid IV. Tear, pour, live more. Go to liquidiv.com and get 20% off your first purchase with code NEWHEIGHTS at checkout. Thank you to our partner, Lionsgate, Michael.
It's my middle name. So something pretty incredible is hitting theaters on April 24th. It's called Michael, the new biopic about Michael Jackson.
And here's what makes it incredible. Jafar Jackson, Michael's actual nephew, is playing him in the film.
This is incredible. This isn't just about the greatest hits or the iconic dance moves. This goes deeper. It's the real story of how someone became a legend.
The journey behind the music that changed the world. Michael hits theaters April 24th. And honestly, this is one that you're going to want to see on the big screen.
Head to your favorite theater's website and grab your tickets now. The Michael Jackson biopic, only in theaters April 24th.
Thank you to our sponsor, Allstate.
Checking Allstate first could save you hundreds on car insurance. That's smart. Not checking the street signs before parking the car. That'll get you a ticket. The only trip you're taking in that instance is to the tow lot.
That's right.
Checking first is smart, so check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Potential savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate North American Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois. Let's get to this segment right here. We're calling it Get Off My Turf.
Get off my turf!
We need to narrow these field goals. It's too easy to kick field goals now. I'm also out on these touch screens on the walls.
I'm out on that too. I am out on that too. Oh, I want a smart house.
What the is wrong with morons? Get off my turf.
Get off my turf!
It's a new segment for us.
Sick of this new wave, man. We've been bitching about all types of shit on how the NFL's changed, man. We're huge. We love the fucking wedge back in the day, man. Get the big boys out there, locking arms, fucking full-on collisions. Like, why change that? That's the most exciting. Fuck, that's the start of the game right there. I get to see some action.
The wedge. I haven't heard the wedge.
You're talking to two wedge guys right here. We fucking love that shit. Crackback blocks being legal, defenseless receiver rules, man. I just watched the doc and Michael Irvin is just out here just enjoying every single lick he's taken over the middle, man.
I'm
just
telling
becoming more and more of a beast every time he catches one, man. And it's just a different game. So, Jason, go ahead.
I was a wedge buster. I was a wedge buster in college. Before I started, I was running down in knee braces, and they said, Jason, just take out this wedge. No joke. Me and Ricardo Matthews, a D lineman that played in the league for a long time, they said we could get down there faster than anybody anyways. I'm like, hey, UCF had a really good kickoff. They're like, hey, guys, just go down there and take the wedge out. They do all middle returns. It'll be great. We go down there. We blow this 4-man wedge up. It goes 106 yards to the house, down the sideline.
All right, let's reevaluate this. Maybe have some savvy. Maybe get to the ball.
Yeah.
Dude,
All right, anyway.
Troy, you would have fucking loved to see this dude running down because it was in his transition. You heard him say knee braces.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. I would have loved to have seen him not only run down the field, but run down the field in knee braces.
That's right.
He had just made the transition over to the offensive line. It was the rule that all O-linemen needed to wear knee braces. So he had this big old, it was like he had a yoga ball on his waist, man. He had this big old gut because he was trying to gain weight to play O-line, had the knee braces on, but still had like that linebacker athleticism a little bit.
Not quite.
Nothing in that belly more than beer and Subway, man. It was hilarious, man. But he was a baller.
We're going to give you 40 seconds, Troy. Air out any complaint you have with the modern game of football. Do you have anything that right off the top of your head you can think of?
I guess what I don't like is, and I'm a former quarterback, of course, I don't like the extent of some of the protection on the quarterback is probably my biggest complaint, just because the whole objective for a defense is obviously to get to the quarterback. I mean, if you do that, you got your chances of winning go up. And these guys, man, I've never played defensive line or any of that, but I can only imagine that you're fighting through 300-pound offensive linemen. You're getting twisted and torqued in all kinds of directions, and yet you're trying to get to the quarterback. And if you get there and you don't do it exactly the right way, then there's a penalty. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Now, there's so much that's been done to try to protect players, and I'm all for it. But
right,
you talk about a wide receiver back in the going back prior to the 2000s. Ooh. I mean, if you went over the middle, it was up to the quarterback to protect the receiver. And now quarterbacks will just throw it anywhere because they know the quarterback or the receiver's not going to get hit. And what I see a number of times is defenders, they don't know how to play it. Like they're caught in no man's land. They don't know whether to try to make a play on the ball. Just try to tackle the receiver. I feel bad for the players, the gladiators that are in the arena. They don't really want the protection. The players are the ones always saying, hey, we're good. Let us play.
I signed the contract. I'm good. I'm ready. I agreed to this.
That's right. So that's what's kind of different and odd about the whole thing.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I don't want to be the get off, whatever the segment's called, the get off my lawn guy.
Get off my lawn? You don't want to be that?
All right. We'll be those guys. Thank you for playing along, though. We'll get you out of here after this last segment, man. We always end it with a little bit of we got to ask, but you can clearly not answer. You can just tell us to fuck off, Troy. But we got to ask these questions.
I got to ask the first one. I got to. Because this is the most impressive highlight I've ever seen in the NFL. Is Larry Allen chasing down that interception the most impressive thing athletically you've ever seen in the NFL?
Probably. I mean, this guy,
Insane.
I've seen the clip you're talking about, and I remember the play like it was yesterday, and yet he was so athletic that I didn't think anything of it at the time that it happened. You know,
It's just a regular
yeah, it was just,
It's like, oh, nice.
bench press at the Pro Bowl the one year. It was like some absurd number.
yeah, I might have been 800 pounds or something. It was after I had retired that he did that, and just a gentle giant. I mean, God rest his soul. You know, he passed a few years ago. But I'd reached out to him. I'd heard he was struggling a little bit, and he was just a gentle giant. I mean, just an incredible. His son went to Harvard or Yale, played football. I mean, he was a family man, raised great kids. Everything he did, he invested back into his family. You know, the words GOAT gets thrown around a lot, you know, greatest of all time and all that. I mean, there's a lot of great linemen, and I'd put a lot of others on par with him, but I wouldn't say anyone that's ever played's been better than him. I know that,
That's
and
accurate.
loved having him as a teammate as well.
Yeah, baby.
Close friend of mine, Andy Reid, says that he maybe have called you in 2002
Yeah,
while you were on the Fox broadcast to see if you maybe be interested in playing for the Philadelphia Eagles.
that's right.
What's
Yeah, we were
this?
That went down?
We were at old Jack Murphy Stadium. I was in the 3-man booth with Collinsworth and Joe Buck, and we had just done a game break that Donovan McNabb had just broke his leg. And the Eagles were playing really well. They were number one in the NFC at the time. It was midseason. We're getting ready to go to halftime, and my producer, Richie Zion, says, hey, I've got a number that I need you to call at halftime, which he had never done. And I was in my third year in
the middle of a
broadcasting.
broadcast. This is
And I'm
crazy.
trying
This
to
is
call
amazing.
from the booth at halftime, and there's no cell service. So I walk out onto the concourse, because this was an old stadium. It was old Jack Murphy.
Yeah.
So I'm out on the concourse. Fans are walking by. Of course, they're like, hey, F you, Aikman, Cowboys blow. I got Andy Reid. I said, hey. He says, hey, it's Andy. And I said, Andy Reid? He said, yeah. And he says, you know, you heard what happened, didn't you? And I said, yeah, we just did a game break on it. And he goes, well, I want to talk to you. I said, Andy, I'm in the middle of a broadcast. And he said, "No, I know." He said, I know you are. He said, I need you to call me after the game. And I said, all right. So I called him after the game, and he was selling me on why I should come out of retirement and go sign with the Eagles and
Wow.
play for them. They were playing Monday night. The following game was on Monday night against the 49ers. And Ty Detmer was I decided, obviously I didn't do it. I said I didn't go.
You didn't pull the old man Rivers?
I was on my way up to Montecito, Santa Barbara after that game, and I'm driving up, and I said I can either keep on going north and enjoy a week in Montecito, or I'm going to be on a plane in a blizzard in Philadelphia, you know. And Detmer goes down the very next week. He gets hurt against 49ers. A.J. Feely takes over. He wins 5 straight games. McNabb comes back from his injury, finishes out the season, and the Eagles went to the NFC Championship game that year. So it wound up being still an amazing year for him.
There you go.
That's wild.
But what a
Very
fun story, man. That's crazy. I can only imagine trying to be on the main concourse while fans
Wild.
are yelling at you. It's like, this is Andy? Oh, man, that's too funny.
Speaking of Philly, do you have any favorite stories from playing in Philly?
I know they're good on defense now, but back when I played, it didn't matter if it was Buddy Ryan, Bud Carson, Ray Rhodes. I mean, it didn't matter who their defensive coordinator was. They beat the dog shit out of quarterbacks. I mean, it was 91. They were number one against the run, number one against the pass, number one overall. They were knocking quarterbacks out every week. And my first game against them, I didn't know a lot about them my rookie year. Our first game was on Thanksgiving in Dallas. And at the end of that game, and that was the year, obviously, we weren't very good. And at the end of that game, they x-rayed both shoulders, both knees, my elbow. I thought I had broken bones through my whole body. We had to play the Eagles 2 weeks later. And after they x-rayed me after the game, they said, yeah, no, everything's good. I said, everything's good. What And I had to go back 2 weeks later and play against these animals. I mean, they were brutal.
Relentless.
And that was a game they were throwing, they had the snowballs with batteries and, they were, I didn't take my helmet off. The Santa Claus throwing snowballs at him on his little tricycle. I mean, that stuff was real,
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah,
So
they were.
good.
I remember we were sitting around at a round table one off season. It was me, Favre, Elway, and I think Warren Moon. And they asked us where our least favorite place to play the ball.
Running the ball.
Yeah. Or out wide, catching a nice slant.
However,
There is no chance. None. None. In fact, Joe played football. He broke his neck playing, when he was in high school.
He broke his
Oh.
neck?
Yeah, he
I didn't know this.
Broke his neck playing football.
Get with the giggle is hilarious.
Joe would not only not get a yard, he might not get up. I mean, come on. Are you serious?
My bad, Joe. I set Joe up for failure right there. Who's a better actor, you and Jerry Maguire or Jerry Jones and Landman?
Jerry Jones and Landman. Did he not crush that?
It's so fitting.
Dude, that scene in the hospital is unreal.
I've had a lot of meetings with Jerry over the years, and I've had a lot of great conversations with him about his past. And, when he gets into talking about some of the things that he's lived through and that he's done, it's pretty fascinating. And so I've heard variations of basically that story that he told in Landman. And so Joe and I were talking about it, Joe Buck, and he was saying, hey, did you see it? And I said, yeah, I saw it. It was phenomenal. I said, but I've heard him basically tell that story. I said, he wasn't acting. That's Jerry. I mean, that's Jerry telling the story. And Joe made a great point. He says, no, I hear you. I hear you that it's his story and all that. But he told it in a sound studio in front of 40 people with cameras and lights and an audience, and he sold it.
He sold it
For sure.
That is acting.
Yeah.
So when he said that, I said, you know what? You're right, because we've all been on commercial shoots, and it's not as comfortable as what Jerry made it feel when he was delivering that. I thought he was phenomenal.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, the cadence and like the way the pauses and everything, it just came off so real.
And I've gotten to know Taylor Sheridan, and we were talking about that piece that Jerry did, and I agree. Taylor said if he wanted, he could make a living as an actor, and he could.
Nice.
I mean, I got a joke I could tell, but I don't want to tell it, so I'm not going to.
All right.
It would go
There we go.
viral.
It begins with a quiet truth that echoes through locker rooms and lecture halls alike. What, exactly, is college sport meant to be? Once upon a time, it was a proving ground of grit and education. But now, some whisper. It resembles a marketplace where loyalty is fleeting and checks speak louder than tradition. And as the conversation unfolds, you can almost hear the soul of the game shifting uneasily in its seat. If you feel that tension too, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to Taylor and Kelce, because this story is only just beginning. There was a time when players struggled in silence, unable to work during the academic year, watching teammates from humbler beginnings carry burdens heavier than any defensive line. Payment felt not like a privilege, but a necessity. Yet when the system finally cracked open, it didn't trickle, it flooded. The gates burst wide, and suddenly the landscape resembled the Wild West, where deals are struck in shadows and allegiance lasts only as long as the next opportunity. And somewhere along the way, education, the very pillar that once justified it all, vanished from the conversation like a ghost at dawn. Graduation rates? Forgotten. Academic growth? Barely whispered. It's as though the classroom itself has been benched, replaced by the roaring spectacle of potential earnings and transfer portals spinning like roulette wheels. Now imagine the dilemma. You're a top quarterback, the NFL calling your name like a distant drumbeat. Do you stay, polish your legacy, and risk everything for one more year? Or do you leap into the unknown, perhaps landing in a struggling franchise where hope is thin but opportunity immense? History teases us with examples. Teams once broken, rebuilt by the right hands, transformed from afterthoughts into dynasties. Because here's the truth that keeps scouts awake at night. Greatness is a gamble. For every prodigy who rises, another falters. It's not science, it's instinct, chance, and timing woven together. And that uncertainty, that beautiful unpredictability, is what keeps us watching, debating, and dreaming. So if you're captivated by the chaos and the charm of it all, stay with us, subscribe to Taylor and Kelce, and remember, sometimes the future of the game is decided not on the field, but in the choices made long before the whistle blows.